So as mentioned in the matching fk to ik script, we have to be really careful when dealing with what's going to later become a locked asset in terms of our permissions for setting parameters and the likes. And we're about to look at matching ik to fk. And to do that, I want to position the end effector at the end of our bone chain based on the fk rotations. Now, this is something that we discussed back in Technical Rigging 3, so again, I'm not going to go into detail over why we're doing what we're doing and the specifics of what we're doing. I'm simply going to assume that a basic understanding of matching IK over to FK is already known. But we are going to need to move the end effector to the end of our FK arm, and in order to do that, I want to basically set parameters on that end effector. Now, in Technical Rigging 3, we actually used a method of parenting nodes to achieve this, and it worked, and it actually functioned great for teaching the importance of knowing about different spaces, objects existing inside different spaces, and local coordinate systems, pre-transforms, parenting, and the likes. In this case, our character rig's actually going to call on a single Python call. Well, actually, two different Python calls in a single line that's going to automatically generate the transformation parameters that we need in order to position the end effector at the end of our bone chain. However, it's going to simply try and set those parameters on our IK handle, a node that we know is going to be inside a locked asset, and that's going to cause a permission error. To overcome that error, we're going to use a workaround by taking advantage of something called editable nodes. These are a new feature for Houdini 9.5, and with editable nodes, we can specify nodes which can be modified that are down inside a locked asset without causing permission errors. So you might think, hey, that's fantastic. We could specify our IK handle as an editable node, and our script would function perfectly. And yes, our script would function perfectly. However, if we select any editable node in the viewer, even if our asset is locked, we will actually be thrown down inside our asset to the level of that node. And this is something we don't want to happen every time the animator comes in and grabs that IK handle. We don't want to be thrown down inside the asset to the level of that node. So what we can do instead, and what I'm going to do, is to have an invisible, non-selectable node that is editable, but exists in the exact same space as our IK handle. That means it has the same pre-transform, if any, and has the same parent as our IK handle. And that means that parameters set on that particular node directly map over to our IK handle. That means we can have that node and set it as editable, but the animator can never select it. They can never get thrown down inside the asset. The IK handle isn't set as editable, however its parameters, which will be promoted up to the asset level, can be set by calling on the getReferencePalm function, as we saw in the match fk to IK. That means we can have that editable node call on the functionality, the Python call, onto that node. Its transforms will be set up. We can then copy those transforms by setting the parameters, calling on getReferencePalm on our actual IK handle, and get the IK handle with the exact same parameters. So with that in mind, let's set up that editable node, which is going to, well, later be an editable node. Obviously, right now we don't have our asset, but let's set up that node that later will become our editable node. It needs to exist in the exact same space as our IK handle. To do that, I want a parent node of our IK handle that's going to act as an initial position. Effectively, it's going to act like the current pre-transform of our IK handle. So I'm going to go ahead and wire a node off of our IK handle. Let's wire a null. And I'm going to rename this to L underscore arm underscore IK handle underscore initial position. And with that, we can go ahead, keep position when parenting, and unparent that from our IK handle, and that will grab the same position. But with that position, it's going to now be able to allow us to parent our IK handle up under him and delete out that pre-transform. I do want to go in and delete out these very small rotational values, since we know we don't actually need any rotation on there. So let's grab our IK handle, and with keep position when parenting checked, we can parent to our other null. That's going to remove out our pre-transform. Fantastic. We can also jump in here, and we can see that we do indeed on here have a very small value in Y. We can zero that out as well. So that means now with translation values of 0, 0, 0, we still sit in that rest location, but we can now come in, and if we wire a null that has 0 translates and no pre-transform, that null is going to exist in the exact same space as our IK handle. That's going to allow us to take this null, and if we specify this particular null as editable, we can come in and we can basically match this null to the end of our FK bone chain, grab his parameters, and we know that they directly map over to our ARM IK handle, so we can just set these parameters equal to the parameters here. We can do that calling on get reference palm, and that means that we're not going to hit any permission errors basically. So let's go ahead and name this null to L underscore arm underscore IK handle underscore editable. I do want to make sure that we turn off selectability and turn off visibility. This is something that the animator is never going to know about. This is simply for us when we're working with our script. I'm also going to turn off selectability and visibility of that initial position as well, and that's going to allow us to only see our IK handle. In terms of the animator, it's going to look like you click on the button when we set the button up over the next few videos, and this will all match up perfectly. What we know is going on under the hood is actually a little bit more complicated, but the animator never needs to worry about that. So with that, we've taken a look at why we need to work a little bit differently when we're editing those that are inside a locked asset. So in the next video, we can actually turn around and utilize this system to actually set up the first part of our matching our IK over to our FK. So with that, that will conclude this video. Thanks a lot.